This is Miss Jackson Smith, and this is second grade math. This video is for Tuesday, April 28th. And in this video, we're going to continue working on partitioning shapes into equal parts. So let's get started. The materials that you're going to need to learn with me today are just a piece of paper and something to write with, and of course, your brain. Here's our agenda for today. Yesterday, we learned how to partition shapes into two equal shares to make halves. Today, we're going to partition shapes into 3 or 4 equal shares to make thirds and fourths. So first, we're going to warm up with a story problem. Then we're going to learn some new words. Then I'm going to show you how to do partitioning shapes with thirds and fourths. We're going to do a little practice together, and then you're going to do the rest of your Google Classroom work on your own. So here we go. Our story problem for today is this one. Let's start off with reading it. Carlia has 24 Legos that she's using to build a tower, just like yesterday. Zaria and Jamarian want to make towers too, so they ask Carlia to share her Legos. How many Legos will each person get if they have an equal share? Well, first off, let's go through and box our important information. So Carlia has 24 Legos, so I put a box around that. That's our total. And then the story is asking us, how many Legos will each person get if they have an equal share? That equal share detail is super important because that tells us that when we're drawing and when we're solving this problem, that we need to make sure that we have 24 total that go between 3 different kids equally. So let's see what happens. Next step is to draw. So I started off for drawing by doing Carlia, Zaria, and Jamarian as separate groups. I want you to go ahead and see if you can use our strategy from yesterday, using a dot drawing to distribute 24 Legos equally to 3 people and see how many Legos each person gets. So I want you to pause the video right now, write down Carlia, Zaria, and Jamarian's names, and then use our dot strategy to see if you can solve this on your own. Press play when you're ready to see how I solved it, okay? Alrighty. I'm going to assume you tried that on your own, and here I go. Count them with me. I've got 1, 2, 3. We're getting all the way up to 24. Remember, so we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So that's 24 Legos total. And if I count them for each person, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for each person. So I labeled it with 8 Legos for each person. Next step is write. So I already read the problem, I drew, and I know that we have 8 Legos for each kid. So now I need to write a number sentence and an answer statement to show my thinking. When I write my number sentence, I know that we started with that whole of 24, and then we broke it up into 8 parts. So I think an addition sentence would be all right for this, but there's other ways to do it too. I just wrote 8 plus 8 plus 8 adds together to make 24, which was our whole. Then for our answer statement, remember yesterday we went back to the story to see what the question was asking. The story asks, how many Legos will each person get if they have an equal share? So I'd start that off by restating and say each person gets, and then I would just write my answer, 8 Legos. So we did our warm-up story problem, and we broke up our whole of 24 into 3 equal parts, and we're going to keep thinking about equal parts for our next chunk of the video. So yesterday we learned that the word partition, say partition, means to divide a shape into equal parts. Into what? Equal parts. So we learned about halves, which is when we have 2 equal parts. But today we're learning about a couple new kinds of parts. If we break a shape into 3 equal parts, we can call it thirds. Say thirds. Thirds means that the shape is broken into 3 equal parts. So this is still the same circle, But up here we broke it into 2 equal parts, and down here we broke it into 3 equal parts. So let's see what we can do with that. We're going to practice partitioning shapes by drawing, okay? So for this part of the practice, you are definitely going to need a piece of paper and something to write with. I'm going to show you some shapes, and then I'm going to give you some directions for you to try along with me, and I'm really excited to see what you do. So first off, we've got these 2 rectangles, and so your first step is I want you to go ahead and copy down each of these rectangles onto your piece of paper. So draw one rectangle and then draw another rectangle. Go ahead and pause the video if you need some extra time to do that. All right, now that you have your 2 rectangles, and they can be the same size, go ahead and draw 2 lines on each rectangle to make it so the rectangle is in thirds. Remember, thirds means 3 equal parts. So go ahead and draw 2 lines on each rectangle so that then you can see 3 equal parts. And challenge yourself to see if you can do it 2 different ways. Pause the video right now if you're not done, and press play when you're ready to check your work. So I drew 2 lines vertically to make thirds over here, and I can check that there's 1, 2, 3 equal parts. And then over here I tried horizontal lines, and I have 1, 2, 3 equal parts. Next, I see that the directions below say shade in 1/3 and then shade in 2/3 over here. So I want you to go ahead and try that on your own. Try shading in 1/3 over here and 2/3 over here. When you're ready, press play. All right, I shaded in just 1/3 over here, and see how there's 2 that are left over. And then over here it said shade in 2/3, so I'm going to shade in 2 of these boxes. Look how I did it. If I shaded in just 1/3, it looks like this, but 2/3 looks like this. All right, I think that we're ready for another problem. Go ahead and draw 2 rectangles. This time draw them one right on top of another, just like this. Your rectangles don't have to be perfect, so don't be too worried about that, but definitely draw carefully to make sure that they're about the same size. Go ahead and pause the video to finish drawing, and then press play when you're ready. All right, this problem asks us which is larger, 1/3 or 1/2. To do that, we need to draw to partition each of these rectangles. So on your first rectangle, the one on top, go ahead and use vertical lines to make thirds, and then you're going to shade in 1/3. On the bottom, use vertical lines to make halves and shade in 1/2. All right, check that your paper, before you start shading, before you need to do any of that, just check that your paper matches mine like this. That you have thirds like that, vertical lines go up and down, and then on the bottom you have halves. Once your paper matches mine, go ahead and make sure that you have shaded in 1/3 on the top one and 1/2 on the bottom one. So go ahead and shade that in, and then I'm excited to see if our work matches. All right. I shaded in 1/3 like that and 1/2 like that. Our question was, which one's larger, 1/3 or 1/2? This shaded section is smaller than this shaded section right here. This shaded section, this half, is larger. So I circled 1/2 because that part's larger. All right, let's try the same thing, but with circles. We still want to find out which is larger, 1/3 or 1/2. And so we're going to circle the part that's larger. I already broke these into parts for you. So I have 1/2 over here and 1/3. On your piece of paper, go ahead and copy these circles just real quick. They don't have to be perfect. And then shade in 1/2 on the one that's halves, and the 1/3 on the circle that is in thirds. Your paper should look something like this. So your last step is answer the question. Which is larger, 1/3 or 1/2? Go ahead and circle or just write down larger next to the circle that's larger, or the part of the shape that's larger. Larger is spelled L-A-R-G-E-R. If you said that 1/2 is larger, kiss your brain, you are right. And you have learned already so much about comparing partition shapes, which is a pretty cool skill. There's one more word I need to teach you today, and that word is fourths. Fourths is what we say when we're divided into 4 equal parts. So halves is 2 equal parts, thirds is 3 equal parts, and fourths is what? If you said 4 equal parts, you are right. When we talk and use these words, all of these words are words for different fractions. Say fractions. Fractions means the number and the type of equal parts in a whole. So anytime that we break things into equal parts from a whole, we can talk about them by talking about fractions. So let me show you a couple of pictures of fractions and examples of how we talk about them. So for example, these are a bunch of pictures of the same shape broken up into equal parts differently. So this, we could say 1/2 is shaded. 1/2 is a fraction. In this picture, 1/3 is shaded and 1/3 is a fraction. In this picture, we could say 2/3 are shaded, and when we talk about 2/3, we're talking about a fraction. And in this picture, 0/4 are shaded, and so 0/4 would be a fraction. So let's practice with that now. Get your paper and your pencil ready. If you need more paper, go ahead and get that, and press play when you're ready to start. The directions here say partition each circle into fourths. So go ahead and quickly draw 4 circles, and then partition each circle into 4 equal pieces. Please press pause if you need any extra time. Your paper should look something like this. And then we're going to go ready, set, go. And when I say go, I want you to go ahead and shade in each fraction or each circle to show the fraction below. So underneath the first circle, it says 1/4. So shade in 1/4 here. Shade in 2/4 on the next one. Shade in 3/4 on the third one. And then shade in 4/4 on the last one. Pause your video right now, do all of your shading, and then check your work with mine, okay? 1/4 looks like this. 2/4 looks like this. Or you could shade in a different one. 3/4 looks like this. And 4/4 looks like this. Let's try again. We're going to do rectangles this time, so go ahead and draw 3 rectangles on your paper. Then, before you shade anything in, I want you to partition your rectangle into 4 equal parts. You can try it your own way, or you can just copy mine. Mine look like this. So I drew horizontal lines on top on the first rectangle, then I drew vertical lines on the second rectangle, and then I drew 1 horizontal and 1 vertical line on the last rectangle. Once your rectangles are partitioned, go ahead and shade in 2 quarters on the first one. I gave you a peek of mine. I shaded in these ones. It would have been okay if I'd shaded in these ones instead, like this. Or if I shaded in any rectangle, whatever rectangles I wanted, as long as it's 2. Down here it says shade 1/4, so go ahead and shade 1/4 here. You could pick whichever one you want. I picked this one. Then the last one says shade in 3/4, so go ahead and pick 3 of these fourths to shade in. You might have noticed that I said fourths here and quarter here. Quarter and fourths mean the same thing. It just means 1 part when the shape is broken into 4 equal parts. But sometimes people say quarter, sometimes people say fourths. So just be on the lookout for that. We have one more problem to do all together. You've been doing an amazing job so far. I'm excited about this one because it has to do with pizza, and it also has to do with some of my favorite people. In this problem, it says that Miss Szymanski, Miss Hawkinson, and Miss Yock share a pizza equally. So go ahead and draw a circle and then show how they could slice the pizza so that they each get the same amount. Then write their names on each slice. Pause my video and try that on your own. Okay, I broke the pizza up just like this. And then I labeled it with their names to show who gets each piece of pizza. Next, let's answer a couple questions about our pizza. The first question says, what fraction of the pizza did each teacher eat? So when they're asking what fraction, they're asking for words like half, third, or fourth. Look at your pizza and decide, is it in half, is it in thirds, or is it in fourths? If you said thirds, you're right. It's broken up into thirds because there's 3 equal slices. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3. There's 3 pieces and they're all the same size. So that's thirds. That means each teacher just gets 1/3. So I wrote down each teacher gets 1/3. Then what fraction of pizza did the teachers eat all together? In all, we had 1, 2, 3 thirds. So I wrote each teacher ate 1/3 of the pizza, and all together the teachers ate 3/3 of the pizza. All right, we did it all. We did our story problem. We learned some new words, thirds and fourths, and then we did some practice together. So that means it's time for you to do your Google Classroom independent work. So you're going to answer some more questions about thirds and fourths, and then you're going to press submit, and you're all done for Tuesday math. I had a lot of fun in this video, and I'm really excited about tomorrow because tomorrow we're going to get to use what we've learned about halves and thirds and fourths and really start doing a lot more drawing. So I hope you had fun with me, and don't forget to do your Google Classroom work too. Bye for now.